1. When you get someone a gift, do they owe you the money for the trouble you have to go through? Hey there, I met entitled people in my life, but this one still tops all the ones I've encountered. They were a friend of mine, not the best of friends I have never made, but an extremely messed up one that I sometimes questioned why I became friends with. At first she seemed like a nice young lady in her early 20s, and I wasn't even 18 yet when we met. I thought she was cool, but also that she needed a good friend by her side. As the months went by and I was friends with her, the more things she asked of me. If I ordered pizza, I was happy to share with my friends and pay $85 for it between the 3 to 10 people in the dorm area. But if I order something just for me, like Chinese takeout, I'm the bad guy for not offering some to her and not being a good friend. Or if I don't answer a text from her right away, she'll show me her cut wrist and blame me. It was toxic, and I took the blame. I was not so bright at the time. But I think the final straw was when she went overboard and invited me to Anime Con. It was on the week of my birthday, and I happily accepted. If my gift was to spend a few hours with her, that's all. At this time, we no longer lived in the same area and lived on the opposite of the state. I was not far from the convention that was being held, but I had to work on 3 out of the 4 days it was on. While she and her husband would be there for the whole event and rent a hotel there. So we plan and agree to meet at the center that the event was held at. As I arrived, the mood went sour. We'd not seen each other for a year. She still looked the same as when I met her, but I had changed. I developed more and didn't look like a boy, and looked more like a girl, in her own words. I thought it was odd since my clothing had never changed since I was 15. But she changed the subject and said we should go to Waffle House, which I accepted. As we went there, I let them order their food first. She told the waitress to put it all on one bill when I had asked mine to be separate. I just ordered a waffle, which I was already planning to do. As we talked, she mentioned she forgot my birthday present in her room and asked to go there next. I told her sure as we started to catch up in our lives. After we finished eating, the check came in. She told the waitress to bill me. I stopped her there and asked her why am I paying the bill? Weren't you going to pay it? Even her husband was confused. Her logical reason for this was, you're here for 1 day and only buying an enter fee of $25 for the convention. We have to pay hotel, passes, parking, and food. We're here for 4 days, and we've already spent over $1,000 here. In that moment of all the 2 years I'd been friends with her, I felt a sturdiness in my spine and somehow spoke out. And you think I should pay for all your food because you invited me? Without a blink, she responded, yes, and I bought you a present that I left behind, so that means we have to pay another parking ticket and gas expense. I just stared at her for a second before pulling out my wallet and placed $10 on the table and said, do with the extra on my bill as you please, but I'm not paying for both your meals on my birthday that you invited me to. I got up and gathered my things and left. I just went straight to the convention and had fun by myself the whole evening. I didn't run into them all day, but got some nasty texts from her. I'm not sure if I was an a-hole, but I felt good that whole day. Until a few days later, when she kept asking me what she should do with my present, I told her to give it to someone else. But it's only for you, and I can't give it to anyone else. Okay, fine, mail it to me or throw it away. No, you put me in so much stress that I had to be hospitalized during the event and forced to pay for half the bill after you ditched us like that. I thought you were my friend, but I guess I was wrong about you. A friend wouldn't blindside someone with a bill like that. And that's what you did. But I will forgive you if you send me $200 and I'll mail your stupid present for the shipment fee and the money you owe us at the Waffle House. Let's say the conversation went south from there, and it got to the point that she threatened to sue me. I had to get my dad involved. I don't know what he did, but he got her to shut up and even agreed not to go through with the lawsuit, with all the guilt-tripping and suicidal threats and pictures she sent me. All I had to do was send her $25 shipping for a small little box of 2 palm-sized Pokemon plushes, with a Walmart sticker of $3. 2. For a bit of background information before I share this short story, my mother and I went to Pennsylvania to visit my sister for about a week, as we haven't seen each other in person for over 4 years. During one of the last couple of days of our visit, my mother, my sister, one of her friends who she's living with, and I went to a local restaurant that she looked up via Google Maps, as we were trying to eat at someplace new. Now, I don't remember the exact name of the restaurant, but I do know that it's on the riverside and has tequila in its name. Now, onto the story. We arrived at the restaurant and parked in a parking lot across the street from the establishment, and we head inside. As we were heading in, we noticed that the restaurant is packed with lots of customers, and the place looks to be understaffed. There didn't seem to be that many waiters and waitresses on duty, but all 4 of us can tell that they're giving it their all to serve all these people, despite the circumstances. One thing I was surprised about was that we were able to be seated so quickly, even if the place looks packed to the brim. So we sat down, ordered an appetizer, and waited patiently for it to arrive. During this time, we chatted about some personal things that weren't worth sharing, and when our appetizer arrived, the waitress forgot to give us the cheese sauce that would normally come with our fries. I politely pointed this out to her after she dropped off our food. She apologized and went back to the kitchen to get our cheese sauce. No big deal, as from what we can tell, our waitress is serving about 7 tables total, including ours. Eventually, we got our cheese sauce for our appetizer and then ordered our main meals. My mom got a baked potato with pork and barbecue sauce inside the potato that was the size of my head. My sister got a sandwich, I can't remember for sure, and some fries. My sister's friend got something else that I can't recall, and I got myself a pepperoni calzone. Our food arrived, and everyone's food was correct except mine. My calzone had ham or salami in it, which is something I don't like, so I politely informed our waitress that my order was wrong and told her what was wrong with it. She apologized, and I told her it wasn't a big deal. She offered to take the calzone back and have the cook remake it, which I had her do. All seemed good, despite the mistakes that were made so far. Considering everything that was going on, dealing with a restaurant that was packed with hungry people and being short-handed, our waitress was handling things like a champ, until my mom and sister overheard an entitled Karen over at a table next to us. I didn't hear the conversation myself as I was staring off into space, waiting for my food to be remade, which, by the time it was remade, it was done properly, which was nice. From what I heard Mom and my sister mention as they were talking to each other, this Karen was complaining about how the food was terrible, the service was sloppy, and how they were going to complain to our waitress's manager about their slow, piss-poor service. As Mom and my sister were conversing, my sister's friend joined in the conversation as well, to offer her own input, and as they were talking and taking all this information in, I agreed with everyone in my party that this Karen is just being entitled, and we were practically singing our waitress's praises as she worked her butt off serving our table, plus several others at the same time. In the end, when we were ready to receive our check and leave, we told our waitress that she did an excellent job that evening, thanked her for all her hard work, and we gave her a very generous tip. I think we ended up tipping her $50 that evening, but I could be wrong about that amount. Regardless, we gave her a really good tip, and I strongly believe that we raised her spirits at least a little bit, which felt really good. My sister also offered to stand up for this waitress if she were to receive a complaint from her manager, shift leader, or whomever her boss is, thanks to this entitled Karen. Overall, the food was delicious, and the service was top-notch. If my mom and I were to go back to Pennsylvania again, we'll definitely revisit this restaurant and hopefully not encounter any more Karens who can't appreciate good customer service, even if it's being served right in front of their face. 3. So birth is traumatic. Even if it goes right, it's still a lot. PPA and PPD really mess with your mind as well. So here's a story from my first. Birth went well, and I spent 3 days in the hospital recovering, since it was my first, and Hubs wanted to make sure that I healed and the baby was good. Once we got home, though, everything changed. I was a wreck, and in the first few hours we had to ourselves, I struggled to leave my baby out of my line of sight. Mother-in-law and father-in-law came to help us settle in and get fully adjusted. They weren't at our house for more than 2 hours when my husband's friend's parents showed up at our door. Neither of these people had contacted me or Hubs during the whole pregnancy in any way, not even a comment on Facebook, which was the only way that she knew I was having and had the baby. Well, her name is Karen. Karen contacted her daughter-in-law, not her son, and the only reason she knows my dear husband to get our address. Daughter-in-law was busy with a toddler and preschooler, so she gave it without thinking. She later apologized, but she had nothing to be sorry for. The reason Karen needed our address that instant to send us a gift. Since this is the middle of COVID, I wouldn't have been bothered by a gift arriving from her. We had interacted like 3 times previous to this, and I had no issues with her. Instead, she decided it was faster. She lives literally over a mountain from me, and safer, she was unvaccinated because her right wing will keep her safe, to come to our house unmasked and give it to us. To her credit, she did knock. Mother-in-law opened the door not thinking it was an issue, and I was at the start of PPA, so nothing but my baby mattered to me. Karen pushes past my mother-in-law to come into our house and try to hold my 4-day-old infant. I said no. Karen then starts talking about some nonsense. I'm not listening and trying to comfort my baby that's getting fussy. But I don't feel comfortable putting my boob out, and to get to a private part of the house I'd have to walk past her, and I don't want her touching my baby. I start to rub my baby's back, and within seconds this woman says, "Oh, be careful. If you spoil them like that, then you'll have to do it all their lives and they'll never leave you." She laughs. Her husband weirdly chuckles. Hub's mother-in-law and father-in-law and I just look at her like she's crazy. She does have 2 grown, 30-plus-year-old sons that refuse to leave home, and she pays all their bills. Thankfully, the awkward silence made her leave. Don't go to people's homes after they've had a baby unless you're invited, or it has been established beforehand that it is okay. And invest in cameras to screen visitors. 4. There is nothing against people who partake, but these people, this is all they care about. Background. My mom, her friends Rita and CJ, and my little sister Wanda had plans to go to a certain state where a certain substance was legal. It's weed. Wanda doesn't partake, but they were also going to see the sights as well. Development. The baby, who my mom put up for adoption, Kelsey, reached out and she coincidentally lived in said state. She wanted to meet not just her mom but her sisters, and I also wanted to meet my big sister, and I went along. CJ, Rita, Wanda, and Mom were going to share a 2-bed hotel room suite and split the cost 4 ways. They offered to let me sleep on the floor or see if the hotel had a cot or rollaway. I declined politely and just got my own hotel room with a single bed. Last minute, Mom is invited to stay with Kelsey. They didn't have a lot of room, which is why we weren't also invited. Kelsey felt bad, but Wanda and I did not mind. We were fine in the hotel that we'd already paid for anyway. We get there, and they were out of singles, so they put me in a double suite at no extra cost. No big deal. We spent the day driving to about 5 dispensaries before meeting up with Mom and Kelsey and co. to eat at a restaurant. Then CJ and Rita eat some edibles at dinner, and then proceed to ask if Wanda could stay with me, so everyone would have their own bed. I said no, I'd rather have the room to myself. They pushed, and Wanda piped up that she didn't want to share a room. She later told me it was because of temperature. She likes her room ungodly hot when she sleeps, whereas I prefer a morgue-like environment. Which, you know what, fair, and to stop pushing. Then they asked me to drive since they were inebriated, and I said fine. We got in the car, and I started adjusting my seat and everything, and they keep impatiently telling me to hurry. The whole fucking hour-long drive, they kept harping on me to do this, go there, don't listen to the GPS, talking over the GPS. Whole time I'm trying to navigate an unfamiliar city, hoping not to get pulled over with the vapors in the back. All while they keep arguing with me about the room. I told them no, that I wanted the room to myself. They said they'd pay and would go outside to smoke. I don't like the smell of smoke of any kind, and a lot of vaping in the room gives me a headache. If I let one of them have my spare bed, I firmly said no. They said Junior wasn't fair, and that they were the only two who has to share. I said if I hadn't come, they'd still be in the same situation they'd already agreed to. We got to the hotel, and they said I needed driving lessons. Now, I didn't tell them all the reasons I didn't want to share a room because frankly I shouldn't have to. I shall list them here. 1. I have chronic insomnia, and I don't do well sleeping in the same room as virtual strangers. I had only met Rita and CJ twice before. 2. They constantly vape, so would be in and out repeatedly through the night, disrupting my sleep. 3. Possibly they'd try to guilt me into letting them smoke in the room since I was so far from any exit. 4. My social battery drains fast, especially with people I don't know, like my new big sister and her family. And it drains even faster with my mom. Love her, but she is a lot. I needed to recharge, and having a room to myself would do that. Sharing a space with someone I don't know would just wring me the fuck out. Honestly, after the way they acted, I wasn't feeling inclined to be charitable. Then I got a call from my dad who guilted me for not wanting to spend time with Wanda. Clearly, they told him the situation. I said the only time I wasn't with Wanda was when I was sleeping, and that's not spending time. I didn't elaborate on the temperature thing, because frankly I was annoyed. Maybe I'm bratty, but I also told him they could rent their own separate room if they wanted, there were vacancies, and didn't need to leech off of me. Besides everything, I fucking paid for the room to have to myself. That was why I specifically booked a single, so I could prance around naked or do whatever I damn well pleased. The day we were leaving, we had to meet Mom and Kelsey at dinner for breakfast. We were an hour late because the stoners had already blown through $500 worth of stuff, and we had to go to more dispensaries. And by the way, this was a road trip. We were supposed to be home by 8 our time. We got home around 2 a.m. because we went to more dispensaries after the food. Mom didn't feel well. She'd flown out, and I don't know, but whenever I fly I get sick with something, and she did the same. And she wanted to get home too. Wanda and I worked the next day. My mom suggested we go down for Christmas. We could all, Rita and CJ included, rent a bus and drive there. That sounds like a fucking nightmare, and my husband hates long car rides, so he didn't want to do that. We're going to fly or take the train. 5. I live in a 2-floor apartment with my 2 teenagers and 2 cats. An old couple, over 75, live below us. The apartments are poorly maintained and not very well insulated. We can hear their TV, hear them talking, hear when she screams at him, when their 6-year-old spoiled brat grandson comes and throws tantrums, and whenever they open and close their door. Apparently, they have been continually complaining to the landlord about us being very loud. They continually bang on their ceiling when we drop something, or close the bathroom door, which sticks. Or, heaven forbid, I get up at night for any reason. She screamed up the heating vent at me one night when I knocked my water glass off my bedside table. They shout when we walk up the stairs. They have also complained that we use too much water when we shower, which is 100% none of their business. Yes, my cats do run around a bit, but we keep them occupied and take them for walks, and they are pretty mellow, as middle-aged cats tend to be. We do not listen to loud TV, the kids listen to music on their headphones. We don't jump or stomp or throw parties. It all came down to the other night, around 10:30 p.m., when my son was up late making food, and one of the cats decided it was playtime. Maybe ran around for 3 minutes while my son caught him. Bang, bang, bang on the ceiling. Cat goes in my daughter's room and promptly goes to sleep. Old man comes running up the stairs and bangs on the door. I don't answer because I'm in bed and the cat is put away. Next thing you know, they called the police with a noise complaint. A noise complaint for the cat and my son using the microwave. Police show up, house is dark. I'm in PJs, cats are asleep in the bedroom. They look at me and say, "You're in bed?" "Yes." "And what was happening?" "My son was making food and the cat was running around." "Well, cats and teenagers do that." "Is that why they called us?" "Yes." Cop then looks at his partner and says, with a what the hell look on his face, Jesus Christ, what a waste of time. And then asked me if I wanted to put in a complaint for harassment. Next day, old lady shouts across the parking spots, "We're entitled to silence whenever we want silence. You're obnoxious and rude, and I'm going to get you kicked out of here." Landlord calls and is pissed, says they've been continually complaining about how loud we are, and it's ruining their quality of life. And we need to keep it down. So I told him what they were complaining about, and that I am out in 60 days, and if they call again, I will make a complaint for harassment, because this is stupid. His response? Okay, no problem. Note that 95% of them complaining has to do with regular daytime living noise. Occasionally, something after 10, but rarely. They are somehow entitled to silence at all times. In a shitty first-floor apartment. Right. I hope whoever moves in after I leave has small kids and plays loud pop music and does exercise videos in the living room. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Idiots in the Wild, episode 115. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. I would greatly appreciate it if you could help the video out by hitting the like button and possibly sharing it around with friends and family. YouTube's not doing a lot to share the video, so we have to do it ourselves. Okay. Also, if you'd like to support the channel, take a look in the description, and you can find all the various links to, like, Patreon. You can make donations during streams, and super thanks, I think is what they're called, during videos, if you so wish to do so. It is not required, but it is appreciated. Okay, let's see. No other business today, so let's move right along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is: humans have animals as pets, but which pet do you think sees us, as humans, as its pets? Like cats, almost definitely. From what I understand, is elephants quite like human beings, so I don't think they picture themselves as being owned by us tiny humans. But do let me know what you think in a comment below. Okay, and with that, I'm going to head off for now. Lots of recording to do today. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.